maybe that's what they'll be when they're his age, because he's got to be in his 50s or something. But the point I keep bringing up is I don't believe I believe that it's true, but how he is so fucking popular, and he doesn't have any co-hosts. It's always just him. He does take phone calls and has guests sometimes, so he mixes it up that way. But a lot of the time it's just him talking, and it's just him being angry. And even when people call, if people, like I said before, if people call and they disagree with him, they're just morons, and he hangs up on them. And if they agree with him, he's all nice. And that's like the only time he's nice. And I'm going to send you a signed copy of my new book. And he had this book coming out, and he was talking about it like every fucking day for like weeks. And I probably catch maybe, because with traffic on the way home, maybe at the most 40 minutes or something. And then you got commercials and all of that. But he kept talking about this fucking book and how great it was. And it was, his book that was coming out. And everybody should buy my book. I'll send you a signed copy of my book. Mr. Producer, I should do like a show as Mark Levin, man. I think he kind of sounds like that. He's like, yeah, well, Mr. Producer, yeah, my book is great, and these fucking liberals, oh, did I say fuck on the radio? These liberals, I can't stand them, and the Constitution is what they should be going by, but they're not. He does that too, like where, and I've talked about this before, where he'll be talking and then he'll start yelling and about the Constitution and these liberals and all, they want to bring all these terrorists into the country. And it's just like, man, that's what they've been talking about for, I think, weeks, is the refugees that are supposed to be coming in from Syria. And I've talked about it, and basically my biggest issue is that the U.S. government shouldn't be paying for anything, not the letting people in. And this fucking building a wall, Donald Trump, who suddenly thinks he's a genius, I guess, wants to build a wall, wants to up the security state. You have all these, even the guy behind him, the doctor, who I always keep forgetting his last name, wanted to amp up the war on drugs. And he said the same stuff that Trump was saying. It was, because I had written something down, that they're starting to say a lot of stuff about Muslims. And they're saying that Muslims in the U.S. are saying that the climate politically regarding discrimination is worse than after 9/11. And 9/11 happened here. So you have the rhetoric from politicians like Trump, and Carson is the other guy, and other politicians. And I guess there's blowback on the Muslims that live here in the United States. And so somebody wanted to, there was an article in, it was a legitimate newspaper, but, well, it wasn't a paper, it was on the internet, but it was some, I believe it was a legitimate publication, and it talked about somebody, maybe it was even Trump. Yeah, it was CNN, I think, talking about, well, I don't know how legitimate they are. They can like make everything up, or whatever the government tells them is what they print. But that they talked about having Muslims registered, and that's crazy. That's like going back to Nazi times, like Jews had to register because of your religion. That I don't know. sometimes I don't know what to say about some of this shit. So it's because that's what they do. Well, it's all right because it's this religion, but you know, when they come for you type thing, that saying, but they want to register. I think it was Trump that wants Muslims to register. So if you're a Muslim, you have to register with the government. Or now he might have been talking about refugees. I think either way is kind of fucked up. But if he's talking about American citizens that happen to be Muslim and they have to register with the government as a Muslim, see, that's where that's why I keep saying that the country is like the Nazis, and I call it East Germany because, well, that was when I guess they weren't going after a specific group of people, but going after the Muslims, I guess, is like going after the Jews in Germany. And so are they going to have camps now for Muslims and go totally Nazi? Is Trump going to be the Hitler of our time? Is that what it's going to be? I don't know. And then his look will be it will be years after that. You know, why do you got a hair like Trump? You know, like the Hitler mustache, the Trump hair or something will be what it will be. But it's crazy. And these guys are, even with that, they're like up in these polls. And who the fuck does these polls? It's like the people, if it's based on the people that are voting, not even registered voters, it's meaningless as far as what people think. It's not meaningless in who's going to get elected, but does it really matter? Because they're going to do all the same shit anyway. It doesn't matter if it's Trump or fucking Hillary or any of them. They're puppets of the whoever, the powers that be. And if Trump is not, then he won't get elected. And I think it's just a game to him. It's like, hey, let me see how far I can go with this. Let me see how popular I am. Like, I'm bored. My show got canceled. I'm bored. What do I do? Anyway, what I wanted to say about Howard Stern real quick was that, you know, I used to be a huge fan of Howard Stern, and then he became this, what's the show that he's on now? America's Got Talent, and he hangs out with all the Hollywood stars, and he's, supports the government. And to me, I always looked at him as somebody who fought against the government. The government was coming after him with the FCC, and he complained about taxes and stuff like that. And now, he hangs out with all of these people who support the government and socialism and things like that. Not that everybody, I guess, that he hangs out with supports socialism, but, a lot of them are Bernie Sanders people. And so I haven't listened to him in a couple years now. I think maybe since 2012 or something like that, I finally got to the point where I'm like, I can't listen to this. It's just, I listened to it because I thought it was a funny show. Some of the stuff was kind of disgusting, and it did have some intelligent comments and segments and things like that, because he is an intelligent broadcaster, and you can't take anything away from what he does, even though now that I feel that things are that he's changed. I think as a broadcaster, you can't take anything away from what he's done and what he's done for radio, and I think what he's done for media as far as opening up a lot of that freedom when it came to sex and things that are taboo and stuff like that. So just wanted to mention that. We have a few different Facebook pages. If you could like us there, Nonpartisan Liberty for All, of course. The address is thefacebook.com. NPLFA Radio Network and the Government Police. And this one you'd have to search for, but NPLFA presents the non-compliance movement via self-defense. And I think some people are kind of scared of that page, but just search for that. And it's really just about not complying with these ridiculous laws, because that's to me, that's the only way things are going to change, as far as going through and calling your congressman and all that bullshit. That's what they want you to do, to waste your fucking time knowing that nothing's going to change. But I think that if you get enough people, they can't arrest everybody. And people need to stand up and say, we don't want this. You fuckers are just doing whatever you want, and we're not going to stand for that shit. So, unfortunately, no one's really doing that. And I could do that myself, but it's not really going to do much if it's just me. So, unless I got a lot of press out of it or something like that, but they would just ignore it. It's just another person getting arrested for whatever it might be, not taking off my license plate or something, or failing to renew my ID or something like that. So it wouldn't really do anything, I think. Now, if it was 10,000 people, then it's going to make a difference. Then they're going to have to either change the law or they just can't enforce it anyway. So, but regarding kids, and kids really have it bad in a sense that it seems like once people become adults, they don't care about the rights of kids anymore, because they're an adult, and what the fuck does it matter to them? And I don't know if it's because I had like a bad childhood in that I felt frustrated. I felt like I was in jail to a certain extent. I had that type of feeling, even though my it's weird. My father wasn't strict. I didn't get grounded, but it was like, I can't explain it, but I felt like in a way I was like entrapped or something, where he would use things against me and say like, if I didn't do what he wanted, or even he I don't know, just act a certain way, you know, oh, you can't use my car, or you can't whatever, or you can't, I don't know. It was kind of the way in which he did it. It's hard to explain, so I'm not going to get into it, but I definitely am still, I would say, subconsciously affected by a lot of the things that probably happened when I was a kid. And it was nothing like, I was going to say abuse, some physical abuse, I guess, getting hit or whatever, but nothing like any of the other type of abuse. but yeah, definitely getting hit and stuff like that. But I think that's maybe why I can relate, and this is an issue that does matter to me. And also on the other side of it, that the way that kids are brought up is going to affect the future. So more kids knowing about freedom and being brought up free, essentially, is going to affect the future. So that's where I really thought about that, and I think it was, I mean, I was always an advocate for things like that, like what